To build Nidus, you have to first complete the glast gambit to get the blueprint to put these parts together. The neuroptics, chassis and systems are available from a mission I will show in a second, but the only real thing I can see being a problem from this is it does need 6 Aroken cells for the system and 3 neural sensors for the neuroptics. To get the parts for Nidus, you have to go to Eris and Infested Salvage mission. It only exists on this one node, on this one planet. This game mode is a little bit weird. You have the 3 points, A, B and C. I don't know how A and C ended up destroyed, because they were just like that when I joined. But you have to pick up an item, which well, I've got one on us. It's a weird thing you've got to pick up. Then you basically go to one of them, put it in, and a bubble extends, and you can extend it by those green things you pick up. So an agros would be useful, and obviously with there being 3 of these, you can do it on all 3. I haven't figured out what this terminal's for. I would assume it works for all 3 of them. It did. See? Now that one's gone up. Ah, it is a weird terminal. But this game mode is a little bit weird. It's fun, but it's very time consuming when it comes to farming Nidus. This is where you're going to spend most of your time, because his parts drop on rotation C here, which is currently what we're about to finish. Well, not about to, but soon. But the bigger question is he really worth all of this farming? But once you do get him, it doesn't look that bad, considering most of his arms open up, the helmet opens up. Does look like it's going to be a fun frame to use. Really looking forward to trying that parasitic link. Not only that, but the sprint speed I'm hearing is supposed to be 1.1. It's clearly 1. It says right there 1. Shield is 0. And Eris is the only other frame that has 0. The power will be 150 once level 30. The health will be 450 once level 30. And the armor will also be 450 once level 30. So starting off, pretty weak frame, but once you get to 30, could be really good. And does come with a V and a D polarity, so the D's already here for health. And there's also a V on aura as well for something like the health regen aura. Also, once you do build Nidus, if you come down to the infested door that is just to the side of the arsenal, it opens, but only opens with this frame. Because all the parts of the actual frame open up. And then you can go in and sit in the seat and... spoilers. Won't lie though, this frame has some really weird things about it. The mutation stacks, which is that icon in the bottom right, that thing goes up, it's like a counter. There are 5 parts to each stack. You can get 1 point for this per enemy, like for damaging per enemy, up to at most 5 times. So you can only get 5 points from an enemy if they're strong enough level. The problem is, if your stack is a high enough level, it increases damage as the stack goes up. It increases, well, it increases ability damage output. It increases armor. I think it adds up to 250 armor, but I haven't found out where that's from. You start to gain armor after you have 5 stacks. I think it's plus 50 armor for the first 5 stacks. After that, things start to get a little bit weird. This mutation stacks will go up to 100 and then change to the little gold symbol. I liked it at this point because I basically ran around leveling him up, just spamming Virulence, his first ability, just to increase that, just to get it to that point, because to be fair, most of the time I don't really use the abilities that much when leveling a frame because they don't have mods or anything in there. When leveling a frame, I aim them more towards survivability. This guy was different. I found myself spamming his first ability for fun, because if you stick the rage mod in there, it converts damage done to health into energy. The only abilities that use energy of virulence and lava, which are supposed to increase the mutation stacks. It's not only that, but at 3 stacks, his appearance starts to change, where his helmet opens. At 5 and 7 stacks, respectively, his helmet opens a little bit more. The carapace, even. Said that wrong, didn't I? The cover for his thighs and his arms open and reveal more infested stuff. At 10 stacks is when his appearance stops changing. The other reason for keeping it about 10 stacks is his undying state. Now, if you die and you have at least 10 mutation stacks, or I did find something calling them adaptation stacks. I don't know if that's 2 different things. I couldn't find out what an adaptation stack is. It seems to fall under the same thing, just a different name. Honestly, I don't really know. I just keep calling them mutation stacks. But anyway, the 10 stacks are consumed, granting him 5 seconds of invulnerability and restoring 50% health. Which is another reason trying to keep him above 10 kind of just pans out a little bit. His first 2 abilities seem to be the only 2 that actually consume just energy, so Virulence is the one that basically adds to the stack the most, and the higher the stacks you've got, the more damage this does. It is affected for power strength. It's also kind of affected by power efficiency, and the length is affected by power range, so these mods will come in fairly useful for it. But the higher the stacks you have with this, the more damage it seems to do with that whole more stacks equals more ability damage. So spamming this first ability was really all I tended to do with him, leveling him up, and once he was leveled. Kind of went the same with Lava. Lava I found great for crowd control, just simply because it is affected by power range and it just sucks all of the enemies into it, and then you can do things like cast his virulence and kill the things inside of it, which will add to the stack even more. So I still found that pretty useful, though weirdly it used less energy than virulence does. Parasitic Link, which is his 3rd ability, is really useful because you can cast it on allies and they can do up to twice the damage. If you cast this on an enemy, the enemy will actually take some of the damage redirection. So when you take damage, it is redirected to the enemy, but that's not all of it. But if you have Rage on there, it will cast damage done to health, which is great because this frame has no shields to power, so you can have your damage going to, almost all of it going to an enemy, while also inflicting damage using the first ability to get more to your mutation link, because this does consume 1 mutation link to actually cast. So you have to have 1 mutation link to cast it, but you can cast it with 0 energy. His last ability, Ravenous, is not affected by power range, but is affected by power strength. The health regen per second is affected by power strength, because Ravenous basically spawns these 3 tower things in amongst a bunch of grassy stuff. Visually, this is a hell of an ability, but it spawns the maggots that run around and basically eat your enemies. And the stagger effect it does on them is really useful, but kind of like his 3rd ability, it doesn't use power, so efficiency on this frame at all is kind of a waste if you've got rage on there, because that converts damage done to health to power for his 1st and 2nd ability. 3rd and 4th, none. It does, however, use 3 stacks, so it is still expensive, just not expensive against power. And considering it's there basically to heal, because allies who stand in it do, or at least are supposed to be, healed by the same thing. And I'm trying to remember what it was. It's, I think it's 20 health regen per second while inside of this area. So it's great for defense, because you kind of put it up near enough where everybody's going to be on a defense map. Then you've got the little maggots that will, if I remember rightly, they do toxin damage when they bite enemies, hence the stagger effect. But that is just great. The only problem that you have to be aware of with the whole fourth ability, Ravenous, I nearly forgot its name there. When you cast Virulence, the fungal growth thing, it does explode your maggots permanently. They will permanently detonate and be gone. So you will have to recast this ability to bring the maggots back to life. I was tempted on forming a slash into it for primed flow, but to be fair, I would just go with probably 2 Vs, one for primed continuity and one for even intensify goes in there pretty well. And then a D, because steel fiber and vitality go really well on this, because obviously you need that health mod, but with steel fiber on there you take his armor up to 780, I think it was. Rage, of course, the one that turns 40% of damage taken to health, 40% of your damage to health into energy, I should say, sorry, got that one backwards, is also really useful. And then Stretch and Cunning Drift also worked really well. I did put Steel Charge in the Polarity slot, I said it wrong again, in the Aura slot, and Cunning Drift being a Exilus mod went into that one. Apart from that, to be fair, Stretch and, as I said before, I still bit torn whether I want to put Primed Flow on here, remembering it's only really the first 2 abilities that use power, and if you put that in there, having 425 power does seem to be a bit much. Whether or not you actually do put something in this like Transient Fortitude depends on how you do it and what missions you're doing it. To be fair, I put Armored Agility on this rather than something like Transient Fortitude, just because it adds a bit of armor and a bit of sprint speed at the same time. Because taking the 1.0 to 1.10 was not that much, but it is a noticeable difference. Considering I play a slow frame anyway, I do notice the difference between the 1 and the 1.1 quite a lot. But it still leaves the massive question of, is this frame worth all the aggro and everything else of trying to get to the 4th reward on these missions, because that's where rotation say is. And honestly, yeah, this guy is a bit overpowered. I wouldn't be surprised if they did nerf him fairly soon.